our topic is the multiple life purposes. It is a continuation of the last episode that we had, where we were talking a lot about whether these purposes evolve. So it sounds like from the last discussion that we had, we focused on those evolvements of the purposes. And sometimes it sounds like I have this one purpose and it no longer serves me, and now I'm moving on to another purpose. Or I'm passionate about this today, I'm no longer passionate about it, now I'm moving on. This discussion is a little bit different. It kind of talks about, well, I have a purpose, I'm happy with my purpose, I'm happy with my passion, but is it possible that I have multiple purposes? Maybe I have another purpose, and is that okay to have a second purpose or a third purpose, or I don't know, however many purposes, you know? And I want to tie that in because of time and everything to the art of pivoting. You know, how does pivoting play along with these multiple purposes? So, you know, I know like you were talking about in your career, how you went from corporate, you were volunteering with NAMI, you went to these speaking arrangements, and today you're pretty much doing almost the same, but in a different way, in a more fulfilling way. So how does these purposes kind of work with each other, and how do they pivot?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm like, how they work. I mean, we are constantly evolving. I'm the kind of person that like thrives on personal development, reading books, doing all the things. And so the person I was back in 2005 running those support groups is not the person that I am now. And so that's why a lot of pivoting takes place, because sometimes you outgrow, not in like a ego way, but sometimes you just like outgrow a certain purpose and you move on because you've evolved. And like when I was running the support group in 2005, and it was definitely feeding me, and I was really good at understanding people and offering, you know, solutions and stuff. But like I was not good at protecting my energy and my space. And so a lot of times I would come home from that group, as exhilarating as it was, I was like emotionally drained. I was like, oh. And then I would have to get up and go to work the next day because I was working a full-time job. So that's why it became to a point where after 3 years, as much as I love doing it, I was like, it's not paying my bills and it's not giving me health insurance like my corporate job. So I got to let it go. Sure. So things like that can just happen in life. Like I thought my purpose was be a support group leader for a long time, but after 3 years, that just wasn't the case. So that's one example of just kind of growing or realizing something's not for you, you know?
Sure.
And then same thing with like being a speaker for NAMI. As much as I loved on my lunch hour to race over to the hospital and talk to a group of nurses and present and go to like a high school at night, that too, again, I didn't know how to manage my energy and to do good self-care so that I could wake up the next morning and be ready to go to work. Because back then too, my doctor had me on some like heavy medications, and working for a pharmaceutical company, I was like, I just thought that's what you do. Like you just take medicine, like there's no other option. Like this is what you do. So, you know, it was a lot of times managing medications, and I'd be so drowsy and all of the things. So, you know, just pivoting in life when you realize, okay, yeah, this was where I was supposed to be for a number of years, but things change. And so you have to be open to what's coming next, kind of like your next evolution of yourself.
So it's almost as if like your purpose changed and required the pivot, because you know, your purpose developed as you personally developed.
Yeah.
And the more that you personally develop, the more your purpose. It's almost like God saying, hey, you know, we've capped you out over here. So now there's the next stage, which is a little bit bigger. Or, hey, you can only get to this next stage once you've kind of capped yourself out over here. and you've reached the potential you can in this area. So now it's time to move up. You can't hit level 2 until you finished level 1.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, that's so true.
That's a very good way to describe it.
And it's interesting because it kind of came to me just now when you were talking that in order to find, let's say, your deeper, true, super passion, super purpose, you had to go through multiple different, purposes, still with that desire of, the self-growth, for example. That was the underlying driving factor, that passion, if you will. And in your situation, it wasn't that it was that same purpose evolving, but like Baruch so perfectly put it, you went through level 1 of a certain purpose. Then you kind of you finished that chapter. You went to level 2, you went to level 3, and now you're just killing it as you're just growing on these other levels. And you're, in a sense, leveling up, as Baruch likes to say. And I call it one up, and you're just constantly growing, which is incredible. So I love how that ties into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I even took my first stab at entrepreneurship in 2015. I had met this lady at a conference, and she was running her own business, and she wanted me to be like her sales and marketing person. And she really talked a great talk, and I bought into it. So this is when I was just working in healthcare, a different, not the pharmaceutical job, but I was like, oh God, something. So I left, a very good salary, and my husband still had his job, but I left a very good salary to go work with her. And then at the time, I was also really curious about holistic solutions for my mental health. Again, I had been seeking these, many years before I found Amare. And so I worked with her for about 4 or 5 months, and she was major high stress, and she was stressing me out. And I had gone to like a holistic psychiatrist to make some changes, and I didn't let my other psychiatrist know. But long story short, this doctor was taking me off my medications, and she was very confident that it wouldn't be a problem. Well, it became a problem because this lady was stressing me out. And that was 2015. So I ended up in a psychiatric hospital for 30 days. And I was like devastated when I came out because I had left my job. I bought what this lady was selling me, basically. And so I bring this up because I was like, I felt like a failure. I'm like, okay, entrepreneurship is definitely not for me. I need to go back and do the JOB and like all of this stuff. And I was in a really bad place. So fast forward, 4 years is when I started taking the Amare supplements. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, maybe entrepreneurship second time around is better, right? And so, because I was so burnt out on commuting, and I just thought that like going to work was like a waste of time. Like I was like, I can do this exact same thing at my house. Like I always wanted to work from home, have my own hours, have my own flexibility, be doing something that truly mattered. And like, I would just be so ungrateful at my job. I would just be like, this is the biggest waste of time. Why are they having us do this, and this, And so I got a second chance at entrepreneurship.
That's awesome.
Wow.